Rain poured heavily over the quiet street as Emma, a struggling single mom, hurried home from her late shift at the diner. Her young son, Liam, was waiting with the neighbor, and all she wanted was to tuck him into bed. Suddenly, she spotted a man collapsed on the sidewalk, clutching his chest. People passed by, some slowing down but moving on. Emma froze for just a second, heart racing, then her instincts took over. She knelt beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" she called, shaking his shoulder. His lips trembled, his breathing shallow. She remembered the CPR training she'd once received at the diner, pressed her hands firmly against his chest, and began compressions, whispering prayers between every push. Her uniform was soaked, her arms ached, but she refused to stop. Finally, his chest rose, he gasped weakly for air. Relief washed over her as the distant wail of an ambulance siren drew closer. Paramedics rushed in, praising her quick response. She stood aside, trembling, trying to catch her breath. To her, he was just a stranger she couldn't leave behind. She had no idea that the man she just saved was Daniel Hart, a powerful CEO whose name was often splashed across business magazines. As they lifted him onto the stretcher, his eyes fluttered open. For just a second, their gazes met, his filled with confusion and hers with quiet determination. Emma didn't stay for thanks. She simply whispered, "You'll be okay now," and disappeared into the night. Daniel Hart woke up in the sterile white glow of a hospital room. The last thing he remembered was collapsing on the street, darkness closing in, then a faint, steady voice urging him to breathe. A woman's voice. He asked the nurse who had saved him, but all they could tell him was, "A young woman performed CPR. She left before we could get her name." For a man used to boardrooms, chauffeurs, and assistants handling every detail, Daniel found himself restless. Someone had risked their own safety for him, and he couldn't shake the memory of her determined eyes. Meanwhile, Emma was back to her routine at the diner. Bills piled up on the counter, Liam's sneakers had holes in them, and her double shifts left her exhausted. She never told anyone about the man she'd saved, it felt like just something she had to do. But fate was already moving. Days later, Daniel walked into that very diner, dressed in a simple jacket, no sign of his wealth. He scanned the room until he saw her. Her tired smile as she poured coffee for a truck driver. His chest tightened. That was her. When she approached his table, neither recognized the full truth yet. "Coffee?" she asked, voice warm but weary. He nodded, studying her face. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" she asked with a puzzled tilt of her head. "For everything," he murmured. Emma blinked, unsure what he meant. For Daniel, this was only the beginning, he was determined to know the woman who had given him back his life. Over the next week, Daniel returned to the diner more than once. Sometimes he ordered just coffee, sometimes pie he barely touched. Emma noticed but assumed he was simply lonely. After all, she had met plenty of customers seeking a bit of conversation. But Daniel was fascinated. He saw the way Emma tied back her hair while rushing between tables, how she slipped her own sandwich into a paper napkin to bring home for her son, how she lit up when Liam ran in after school to hug her legs. One evening, he finally asked, "You work this hard every day?" Emma shrugged. "Bills don't pay themselves. Besides, my son deserves better than excuses." There was no self-pity in her voice, only quiet strength. Daniel felt something stir in him, respect, admiration, and something more tender. Yet he kept his identity hidden. He wanted Emma to see him, not the CEO whose company logo flashed on billboards. Then came the unexpected moment. Liam, shy but curious, climbed into the booth beside Daniel while Emma was busy. "Are you my mom's friend?" he asked. Daniel smiled. "I hope so." "She never has friends," Liam said honestly. "Only work. She's tired a lot." When Emma returned, embarrassed, Daniel only chuckled. "Smart kid you've got there." Emma's cheeks flushed, but she couldn't deny the warmth in her chest. She didn't know the man in front of her could change their lives forever. Daniel didn't know he was already falling in love with a woman whose strength humbled him. One night, as the diner's neon sign flickered against the rain, Daniel lingered after closing. Emma stacked chairs and wiped tables, surprised he hadn't left. "You know," he began carefully, "I've never properly thanked you for saving me." Emma paused, frowning. "Saving you?" He exhaled, realizing the truth had to come out. "The night I collapsed, it was you, wasn't it? You gave me CPR. Her rag fell from her hand. "That was you?" Daniel nodded. "Emma, you didn't just help a stranger. You saved my life." She was stunned. But what shocked her more was what he said next. "My name is Daniel Hart." Her knees nearly buckled. Everyone knew that name, the billionaire CEO whose empire employed thousands. She had patched holes in her son's shoes while unknowingly helping a man whose watch alone could pay her rent for years. "I didn't do it for who you are," she said quietly. "I did it because you needed help." Her sincerity cut straight through him. No flattery, no fear, just truth. For a moment, Daniel forgot the boardrooms, the profits, the polished lies of business. Here was a woman who asked nothing of him, who had given without knowing. He stepped closer. "That's exactly why I can't stop thinking about you." Emma's heart pounded. She wanted to push away, men like him didn't fall for women like her. Yet the look in his eyes wasn't pity. It was something rare, something she hadn't seen in years, genuine love. The days that followed felt like a whirlwind. Daniel began spending more time with Emma and Liam. He didn't sweep them away in limousines or shower them with diamonds. Instead, he fixed a broken cabinet in her apartment, taught Liam how to ride a bike, and laughed at Emma's burnt attempts at pancakes. Emma struggled with doubt. "Daniel, your world and mine, they don't fit. I'm just a waitress." Daniel shook his head. "You're the woman who saved me. You're the reason I get to live, to feel, to laugh again. Titles don't matter, hearts do." Slowly, Emma began to believe it. Liam adored Daniel, tugging at his sleeve, calling him coach. For the first time in years, their tiny home was filled with laughter instead of worry. The real turning point came when Daniel invited Emma to a charity gala. She resisted, fearing whispers and judgment, but he insisted. "Walk with me, not behind me." That night, Emma entered the glittering ballroom in a borrowed dress. Heads turned, cameras flashed, but Daniel only held her hand tighter. Standing before the crowd, he spoke. "This woman is not just my hero. She reminded me that kindness, courage, and love matter more than wealth." Tears welled in Emma's eyes. The applause thundered, not for Daniel's empire, but for the single mom who had saved a life. As the music swelled, Daniel whispered, "Emma, you didn't just save my life, you became it." And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt truly seen, truly loved. Their story wasn't about riches or status, it was about two hearts finding each other against all odds.